Roundel designs media experiences and solutions that connect 165 million plus target guests with the brands they love. Through tailored partnerships and data-driven strategies, they deliver impactful results that elevate campaigns, maximize reach, and drive growth, ensuring brands are present in all the right moments and central to helping target guests discover the joy of everyday life. Discover how Roundel maximizes campaign results by visiting roundel.com.
Hello, this is Jack Neff, editor-at-large of Ad Age, and welcome to our latest edition of the Marketer's Brief podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends. When it comes to street cred and green products marketing, few people have more of it than Alistair Dorward. He was at Method from the beginning in 2000 as founding CEO alongside founders Eric Ryan and Adam Lowry. After a series of other executive and marketing roles, he's led Drops as CEO since 2023 in hopes of building another green products powerhouse. Founded in 2005, Drops launched laundry detergent pods 7 years before Procter & Gamble launched Tide Pods. Since then, Drops has built a major auto dishwash product line. The brand today is sold mainly via subscription, direct-to-consumer, and via Amazon. But this year, Dorward is leading a charge into broader retail distribution, starting at Target. Here, Dorward talks about how even with a change in political climate, green packaged goods continue to appeal to consumers, and about Drops' future in a market where many of the biggest green brands, like Method, are powered by big CPG. Alistair, before Drops, you had quite a time at Method. I was wondering if you could tell me some about your history with Method and getting that brand launched.
You bet, Jack. It's great to chat today. So this is my second tour of duty in the amazing household products category. I joined Drops as CEO just over 2 years ago. But in a prior life, I was the founding CEO of Method, working closely with Eric and Adam, the two founders of Method, as we were conceiving of the brand and then accelerating it over the course of 8 years under my leadership. And the brand went from an idea to over 100 million in revenue under that experience. And it was an amazing period of time when sustainability was just finding its feet in going from a real niche, from a consumer desire to a much broader one. And simultaneously at a time when design was becoming an important consumer purchase, or the overall product experience was playing a much more important role. So, we were able to unlock the growth of a pretty remarkable brand, just looking at what was going on from overall consumer macro trends.
What brought you to Drops?
I think sometimes finished business in a category, right? I had taken Method to a certain level, and at the time, green chemistry was not good enough to take on the conventional incumbents from an efficacy point of view. There was always a trade-off. And Drops was an amazing brand founded by Jonathan Proper, who invented the first liquid laundry pod. And along the way, had developed an ability to deliver real efficacy in the category. And what I was really excited by was the opportunity to deploy the latest green chemistry and finally being able to eliminate that age-old trade-off between sustainability and efficacy in the toughest of categories, which is laundry and dish. So it was an opportunity to face an extraordinary challenge and to leverage an amazing brand with some groundbreaking new technology.
Tell me about the growth that you're seeing with Drops now and what's driving that growth.
So when I started, Drops was only an e-com business with a successful direct-to-consumer business and an emerging business on Amazon. And the direct-to-consumer business, we have over 300,000 subscribers, an incredibly loyal audience who are 90% on subscription and with a very high net promoter score. The Amazon business has grown very substantially because Amazon is really taking share in this category, particularly where there is a behavior that's predictable, which is cleaning your dishes and cleaning your laundry is a pretty predictable behavior. So we've seen our brand grow to really the leading status on the number one sustainable brand within auto dish and within the laundry pod segment. And that has really emboldened us to embark on a shift towards omni-channel, to play in the retail channels. And over the last 12 months, you've seen Drops really make a remarkable and accelerating growth in these channels. And that's very exciting. The journey started in regional grocery, retailers that are known for innovating and bringing on brands that are at the cutting edge. And these retailers are the likes of Wegmans, Bayer, HEB, and these are often the bellwethers of future innovation, both whether it's in food or in household. And on the back of real progress and success within the regional grocery channel, we're excited to have launched on NCAP at Target just in the last 3 weeks. Clearly, Target is a retailer that I'm very familiar with from, you mentioned my previous life at Method, where Method and Target had a very close strategic relationship. And it's great to be back working with a retailer such as Target who really embrace emerging brands that can make a difference to their guest. So the trajectory of acceleration into retail is accelerating. It's where the consumer wants to buy our category. And we're experiencing just some tremendous growth that I'm happy to say we're able to keep up with.
With the expansion into Target, how big is the retail business as opposed to the direct-to-consumer business for you now?
I'm not going to talk in specific dollar amounts, but I can say that maybe last year we were a 95% business that in online between DTC and Amazon. And I can see this year that the retail channel could be, maybe 30% of our business, still not the largest. But as I look out over the next couple of years, it's very probable that the retail channel will be the largest channel for us. So the single largest source of growth.
How is the direct-to-consumer channel and model changing for you? Is it tougher now than it was years ago, either because of ad costs or fulfillment or other issues?
We've been so fortunate to have a loyal customer base. So we have an exceptionally low churn rate, a repeat purchase rate that is very, very strong. And consumers just once it's almost a set it and forget it. Once they find a proposition with Drops of efficacy and sustainability, there's a very strong loyalty. So that's the foundation, and that's a great foundational business to have. And like many players in the direct consumer world, the iOS 14 made some shifts in terms of the ability to track consumers and in terms of efficiency of ad spend. Costs of shipping have increased. And so it has been tougher across many brands to acquire customers efficiently. But I think one of the things we're even starting to see now is that as the brand becomes more available in brick and mortar and the brand's just impressions are growing, we are seeing an improvement in efficiency of acquisition. There's a halo effect, and we're starting to see, frankly, all channels rise, which is exciting. But when you have a beloved brand that really delivers on fundamental consumer needs, then I'd much rather have a high loyalty business than a one and done churn business. So we're very happy with the way we are playing in the DTC world. But we do see challenges that other brands have when they don't have that type of loyalty.
We're going to stop now for a word from our sponsor.
Roundel designs media experiences and solutions that connect 165 million plus target guests with the brands they love. Through tailored partnerships and data-driven strategies, they deliver impactful results that elevate campaigns, maximize reach, and drive growth, ensuring brands are present in all the right moments and central to helping target guests discover the joy of everyday life. Discover how Roundel maximizes campaign results by visiting roundel.com.
And we're back. With Method, historically, at least as I thought of it, the brand was always at least as much about design as it was about environment and safety appeal, I feel like. Do you think that drops can have that same appeal?
I think drops can unlock even more significant growth than method. You look at the market share of some of the better for you categories, such as liquid hand soap, and these have reached penetration of around 30% because it is a more of an experiential category where design, fragrance plays a much more prominent role. And so the consumer is looking across the different aisles of their store for better for you brands. Yet in laundry and dish, that penetration of sustainable brands is only at 3 to 5%. So the opportunity that Drops has as the first brand to eliminate that trade-off between sustainability and efficacy is to eliminate that glass ceiling, if you like, and see tremendous growth. And finally, for the consumer to say, okay, I can now use a sustainable brand that I know will work first time in the laundry load and the dish load. And that's really because of some of the work we've been doing in innovation, bringing to market multi-chamber products in dish and laundry. And that's the unlock for efficacy. When you're able to separate out different chemistries within a pod, separating, say, a bleaching agent from a set of enzymes, then you can get a two-stage effect in stain removal. Firstly, penetrating the stain or soil, and then sweeping away with enzymes. And that has been the innovation that Drops has brought both to the auto dish category with our Ultra Wash Plus, and most recently to laundry with our 4-in-1. And we have independent data showing that from an efficacy point of view, Ultra Wash Plus performs on par with Cascade Platinum. And in laundry, our 4-in-1 performs on par with Tide Pods 3-in-1. And that's been affirmed by third-party players such as Wirecutter magazine gave rave reviews to our Ultra Wash Plus dish product, and most recently the award from Better Home and Garden for our laundry SKU. So that is really the unlock that I think is so exciting for Drops. I'm very proud of what we in the team did with Method, and it took the innovation to a certain level, but it left undone the penetration of these hardest efficacy categories. And that's the journey we're on with Drops.
Certainly, with the change of presidential administrations, there's a lot less government support, certainly verbally, also regulation-wise, for environmental initiatives and sustainability. How does that affect Drops?
Look, we're just focused on serving the consumer. And I think sustainability means different things to people in different geographies, different demographics, and of different political persuasion. And we're simply focused on delivering across the areas that are most broad concern. So let's take clean water as an example. I think that's something which is a broad desire for all consumers, and Drops as a water icon brand has always been focused on clean water. I think that there's a broad concern around plastic packaging and eliminating plastics from both the packaging form and any microplastics. And that's clearly a concern that the younger Gen Z millennial consumer is very focused on. In rural households, something like 30 to 35% of US households are on septic systems. And therefore, designing a detergent that is septic safe is very important to that community. And we see that recycling behavior in paper is something that is also very important. It's something like 67% of paperboard is recycled across the US. And Drops has moved, is the first brand on a national shelf where a laundry product is in a paper package, a paperboard package, rather than a plastic tub or pouch. And so I think when we think about our sustainability innovations, they are fundamental to consumer needs that continue to be true regardless of any sort of political discussions. I think when a brand stays focused on these fundamentals on consumer needs, then the political debate is a political debate. We're focused on delivering against real consumer needs.
If you go back, say, maybe 5 years ago or so, there was something of a gold rush or maybe a green rush for the big CPG companies to acquire or launch into green packaged goods, basically. Do you still see that interest? And if so, how has that affected the market?
Look, I think the fundamental theme is around big corporate brands being fundamentally regarded with suspicion by the younger consumer. Legacy brands feeling less relevant to the younger consumer. And that's not me saying this. That's a direct quote from the new CEO at Unilever. So clearly the large corporate players, the legacy players, are fearing that their brands connect less with the emerging consumer base and feel that it's around values alignment that's important. And, you know, I think the independent brands that are emerging can really offer a more relatable brand to consumers. And whether it's relating through environmental concerns, relating through packaging concerns, or relating through fragrance, there are many elements of a proposition that can allow an emerging independent insurgent brand to connect more. Sustainability is one theme, but there are, I think, many other attributes, including convenience, fragrance, overall experience that are, how independent brands can stay the most relevant and therefore ultimately the most desirable.
Seventh Generation is one brand that seemed to have a pretty good run, obviously before and even after initially being acquired by Unilever, but then it kind of hit a wall. Why do you think that happened? Is it the big brand or the big CPG suspicion that you mentioned?
I don't know if that's necessarily the issue. I don't know the inner workings. Have admired Seventh Generation as a brand. They're kind of the OG eco-natural brand with tremendous credentials. I think when we think about our consumer segments, however, it goes beyond the eco-natural that is sustainability focused. Our Drops as a brand proposition appeals to a broader set of consumer segments, the innovators who are always looking for the next best innovation in the category to get the job done, the house proud consumer who really takes enormous satisfaction from providing a healthy, clean, happy home for family. So these segments are very important that have broader appeal. And one hypothesis is that seventh gen is singularly focused on the eco-natural, and that category, that segment has been pretty well penetrated by seventh gen. And it's hard for the brand perhaps to extend into other segments. That would be a hypothesis. And I also suspect that the acquiring player has focus on innovation in other areas. And so I haven't seen a huge amount of innovation coming from that brand for a little while. And, I think the consumer notices innovation too.
Certainly the model for green CPG brands for the most part has been to build them up and ultimately sell them to bigger companies. But Drops has been around for 30 years, and that doesn't seem to be the direction it's taken. Have you given a thought to what the future is? Could it become part of a bigger company at some point?
Look, I think we've been success does not happen overnight, and we're really focused on this sweet spot. I think we have just found in the last sort of 18 months this perfect sweet spot for the category, which is when you combine sustainability with efficacy, you bring in affordability and convenience. That is really the sweet spot. And when you are able to hit that sweet spot, you can unlock growth. So what I'm excited to do is to continue to focus on that sweet spot, to unlock that kind of penetration from 3 to 5% up to into double digit for sustainable brands within laundry and dish, and to do so profitably and to create an iconic brand that is, finally eliminates the compromise. And then when you get to that point, then you have choices as a board and as a company. And our board has been incredibly supportive of the journey so far. And, I want to put us in a place where we can have good choices according to whatever the environment. The IPO market has been challenging of late. Perhaps that will change one day. And, I think whatever is true is that a partner has to appreciate the values that Drops brings.
What works best for Drops from a marketing standpoint in terms of media and creative?
The first thing is to deliver a product that is all about repeat purchase. And so we find that the core of reviews, testimonials, user-generated content is something that is the core for us. And as we scale the brand, we're looking to invest in key markets and do certain sort of media heavy approaches in key markets so that we can demonstrate that investments in key areas will unlock new levels of growth. We also found that the power of earned media continues to be very important, and putting the brand at the center of relevance and of cultural conversation gives us an opportunity to move forward. And I think the clear essence of what we're trying to do is to be a brand that delivers against the notion of a clean pioneer. And so I think regardless of creative, regardless of media, so long as that core brand message comes through in our communication from a consistency point of view, whether it's in paid or earned or through some user-generated work, then the brand essence just becomes more clearly understood and becomes more memorable.
Do you work with outside agencies or do work in-house?
We've got a blend of talent in both areas. So we do have some tremendously talented alumni of Method in both the brand and the creative area. Really proud of that team. And I think it's great to work with outside agencies who are at the cutting edge, who are constantly pushing themselves to the ever-changing and fast-changing environment, particularly when you layer in AI as an ever-changing theme. So I think for us, the best model is having an experienced but nimble internal team, selecting and picking with a roster of leading edge agencies who can really bring their best of skill sets to very specific verticals in the marketing mix.
Who are some of the agencies who you work with?
We'll talk about some names later, but we're very, very proud of some of the work we're doing currently with And Walsh, which is a wonderful creative agency and design creative boutique in Brooklyn. We're very proud of our work with Venus Media. These are a couple of recent partners that we're very excited to continue to work with.
Well, that's all the time we've got today. Thanks very much for joining us. It's been great.
Jack, really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today.
That was Alistair Dorward, CEO of Drops, and I'm Jack Neff, editor-at-large of Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player.
Marketer's Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.